Chapter 7, Busted. Crash went the door. The study hall room. Mr. Cripps stomped in like a crazy person. George and Harold had never seen him so upset before. You boys are in so much trouble, Mr. Cripps shouted. I'm going to put you on permanent detention for the rest of the school year. Wait a second, cried George. You can't prove anything. Yeah, said Harold. We've been in all day. Mr. Cripps smiled devilishly and looked toward the door. Oh, Melvin, he called. Melvin sneakily stepped in the room covered in mustard, eggshells, and shredded coconut. They did it, Melvin said, pointing at George and Harold. I saw him last night in the gym. Melvin, cried George, horrified. You promised. I changed my mind, said Melvin sneakily and smugly. Have fun in detention. Chapter 8, The Invention Convention Detention. After school, Mr. Cripps ushered George and Harold into the detention room and a long sentence on the chalkboard. From now on, growled Mr. Cripps, you boys spend 2 hours a day after school copying the sentence over and over. I want that every chalkboard in this room filled completely. On his way out the door, Mr. Cripps turned and said with an evil grin, and if either of you leaves this room for any reason, I'm going to suspend you both. Now, as you might have guessed, writing said this was nothing new to George and Harold. The two boys waited. Mr. Cripps left the room. Then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods had holes in them that George and Harold's dad drilled in George's dad's workshop. George screwed the rods together while Harold inserted a piece of chalk into each hole. Then they took a pole and began copying Mr. Cripps' sentence. Every time they wrote one sentence, the wooden poles made 12. About 3 minutes. Every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admired their work. We've got a lot on our hands now, said George. Got any ideas? Let's make a new comic book, said Harold. So the two took out some paper and created an all-new adventure, their favorite superhero. It was called Chapter 9, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. One day at school, everything was pretty normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwiches. The principal was yelling, blah, blah, blah. And the gym teacher was being mean to everybody. My grandma can run faster than you guys. Then a UFO appeared. It zapped the school with an evil ray. The ray made the toilets came to life. It made them evil too. The toilets were hungry. Yum, yum, yum up. So they ate the gym teacher. Help, the toilet. Let's just scratch somebody's car and the gym teacher. Lord have mercy, was it my car? Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. This looks like a job for Captain Underpants. What seems to be the problem here? That's not what it said in the script. All right, sorry. Captain Underpants ran to the storage room. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. He found a bunch of flungers. He put them in the toilets. Their mouths got stuck. Tra-la-la! Hooray for Captain Underpants! Now to stop that evil UFO. Captain Underpants went outside and saw the UFO. It opened up and out jumped the terrible turbo toilet too. Then I'll flush you. They had a big fight, but Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding waistband, more powerful than boxer shorts. Tra-la-la! To leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Captain Underpants and the Turbo Toilet 2000 and gave him a wedgie. Wedgie popper. Ouchie! Then he hung the Turbo Toilet on the stop sign and pulled back hard. Then he let go. Twang. The spaceship blew up and all the toilets returned to normal. Hooray! Even the gym teacher skated. Aw, man. The end. Chapter 10, A Big Mistake. George and Harold sat together in the detention room reading through their newest comic book and beaming proud. We gotta go to the office. And make copies of this, said George. We can sell on the playground tomorrow. We can't, said Harold. Don't you remember Mr. Krupp said he'd suspend us if he caught leaving this room? Then we won't let him catch us, said George. George and Harold sneaked out of the room quietly and crawled down the hall to the office. Uh-oh, said Harold. There's a bunch of teachers in there. One of them had to use the copy machine. Said George. Are there any other copy machines at school? How about the one that Melvin had in the gym? Asked Harold. Oh, yeah, said George. George and Harold crept to the gym and found the Pasty 2000. I wonder if this machine still makes copies. Melvin did say that some adjustments in it. Oh, he probably just crammed a mouse in there to fool us, said George. It's the oldest trick in the book. I'm sure she still makes regular copies. George placed the cover on their new comic book face down on the glass screen and pressed her. All at once, the lights in the school dimmed, and the Patsy 2000 began to shake and clunk around wildly. Giant volts of staff pretty sat on the bottom of the machine as a great and from the top loose paper and into other small objects in the room were sucked when and they spun above the machine like a ragging cyclone. I don't think it's supposed to do that, shouted George over the horrible noise. Finally, after a series of flashes and loud zaps, the noise and sparks stopped altogether. The only sound that could be heard was of something groaning and chewing around about inside the bloated batter of the Patsy 2000. It sounds like something's alive inside there. George snatched the top machine. Let's get out of here, he cried. Just then, a small ding was heard. A full-size shiny white toilet inside the Patsy 2000. Its teeth were sharp and jagged, and its angry eyeballs glowed with red, swelling veins. Cried the evil toilet. Almost immediately, another top will emerge, followed by another and another and another. Dick cried. Oh no! Melvin was right! The photo automatic ensemble ectophage voice the really does create living, breathing, three-dimensional copies of one-dimensional images. Harold cried calmly. I've got an idea, said George. What? Asked Harold. Run! Cried George. Chapter 11. The Invention, Convention, Detention, Suspension. George and Harold screamed and ran to the gym door, closing tightly behind them. Aha! Yelled Mr. Krupp, who was just coming down the hall. You boys left the detention room. You know what that means, don't you? It wasn't our fault, cried Harold. Too bad, Mr. Krupp shouted with delight. You boys are officially suspended. Wait, cried George. You've got to listen. Behind this door is an army of evil, vicious talk. I don't have to listen to your voice ever again. laughed Mr. Krupp. Now get your stuff and get out of the school. But, Harold stammered. You don't understand. Get out! Mr. Krupp screamed. George and Harold groaned in their lockers to collect their stuff. Gosh, said Harold. One day we've got a detention, a suspension, created an army, whole talking toilet to take over the world. That's a pretty bad day, even by our standards, said George. Oh well, said Harold. I just hope things don't get any worse. Chapter 12. Things get worse. Word spread quickly throughout the office. George and Harold had been suspended. Teachers rushed out to cheer and laugh at the two boys. You're in big trouble now, chuckled Miss Anthrope. I can't wait to call your parents and tell them news. Let's take their desks outside and chop them up, cried Miss Level. Let's throw a party in the gym, shouted Mr. Meaner. No, cried George. Whatever you do, don't open the door to the gym. You can do whatever we like, snarled Mr. Meaner as he dashed over to the gymnasium door. Look, I'm opening the door. Gym door. Now I'm closing the door, he said. Now I'm opening the door again, and now I'm... An evil toilet had stuck its mouth through the door, snapped Mr. Meaner up, and swallowed him whole. The talking toilets then pushed their way through the open gymnasium doors and spilled into the hallway. Yub, yub, it up! The toilets bellowed. Yub, yub, it up! Why is Harold smiling? Snap. The teachers couldn't believe their eyes. They screamed and ran for their lives. Only Mr. Krupp and Miss Ribble, George and Harold remained frozen in fear. They watched, paralyzed, as the talking toilets came nearer and nearer. Finally, Miss Ribble tore and pointed in toilets and snapped her fingers. Go away, she cried. Go away, this man. Hoist and whistling. They moved closer and closer. Finally, Miss Ribble turned and ran. Mr. Krupp, however, just stood there in a daze. George and Harold looked up at him. Uh-oh, said Harold. Did she just snap her fingers? Yep, said George. Now we're really in trouble. And George was right at that when Mr. Krupp began to change. A silly heroic smile came over his face as he stood defiantly before his foes. I'll put a stop, you vile villains, he said furiously. First, I need some supplies. Mr. Krupp turned and dashed to his office. Harold ran after him. Why did Miss Ribble have to snap fingers? Cried Harold. Why? Never mind that, cried George. Mr. Krupp is trying to capture our pants. We gotta pour water over our heads before it's too late. Chapter 13, it's too late. When George and Harold reached Miss Rupp's office, they found his clothes, shoes, and toupee on the floor. Look, said Harold. Window is open, and one of the red curtains is missing. What do we do now? Asked George. Do we save Captain Underpants? Do we stare again in by a bunch of toilets? Let me think about that one, said Harold as he climbed up the window. George quickly collected Mr. Krupp's things and shoved them into his backpack. Then he jumped out the window after Harold. The two boys slid down the flagpole, ran off Captain Underpants. Where does he think he's going? Asked George. I have no idea, said Harold. But we'd better run fast because I think we're being followed. Captain Underpants dashed through the backyard of nearby houses and collected pairs of clotheslines. Mommy, said a little boy, looking out of his window. A man in a red cape just stole our underwear. And now two boys are being chased by ferocious looking toilets with sharp pointy teeth screaming, yum, yum, eat 'em up. Yeah, right, laughed his mother. Just how gullible do you think I am? Chapter 14, the talking toilet takeover. When Captain Underpants was finished commandeering underwear of local citizens, he dashed back to No Mormons Elementary to save the day. School was now overrun with chaos. Miss Ribble came tearing out the door by several evil toilets. Help me, she cried. They've swallowed every teacher in the whole building except me. Don't worry, ma'am. I won't let them eat you up, said Captain Underpants as, drumroll, please. A toilet ate her up. Oops, said Captain Underpants. Now only George, Harold, and Captain Underpants were left. They stood on the front lawn of the school, completely surrounded by hungry, drooling hearts. Yum, yum, eat 'em up, the talking toilets chatted. Yum, yum, eat 'em up, yum, yum, eat 'em up, yum, yum, eat 'em up. We're doomed, cried Harold. Never underestimate the power of underwear, cried Captain Underpants. Stress shot underwear and then wade to the talking toilets. Unfortunately, the toilets just swallowed the underwear whole. Seemed to make them hungrier and hungrier. If only we could think of something that would make them really sick, said George. Yeah, Harold continued. Something so vile and disgusting, it would make them all blow cookies and writhe in agony. Suddenly, George and Harold's faces lit up. Cafeteria food! They shouted. As faster and as speedy as they had, our three heroes dashed into the school.